Hi, this is Mark Allen Barnett, and you're listening to the multiple award-winning podcast, The Business Side of Music, with your host, Bob Bender.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
In the studio with us today, a little bit of a crowded house, but we're going to make it work here on the business side of music. Sitting at the podcast table, let's hope I get this right, even though I've written it down. Members of Stone Senate are in the studio. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much for having us in today.
We have Clint Woolsey, who is the lead vocalist and guitarist. James Edwards, you play guitar?
Yes, I do.
Kieran Cronley, bass player. My favorite guy. Nothing against you guys. And then David Zettler is sitting in with us too. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Who wants to start here? How did Stone Senate get put together?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but to make it a little bit shorter, originally it was myself and David's older brother, Paul Zettler, who was also a bass player. We had started it back in 2008 with some other players and stuff. And let's see, one by one, we lost a player and would need to replace it. And so first came David on the drums. And then next came James Edwards on the lead guitar. And then after that was our fifth guy that's not here, Ted Hennington, who's also a lead guitar player.
Good, because we wouldn't have had room for him anyway. Right. So.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brother T.
Yeah.
That's it, man. And then last but not least, Mr. Kieran Cronley on bass just joined up with us, about 8 months ago?
Last August or September.
Yeah. So, basically the band has been going since about 2012, and then I guess Dave ended up joining about 13 or 14,
yeah.
Up to here, it's us five now, so it's
Five Musketeers.
The Five Musketeers.
The way we burn the road up, turnover can be an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
That just makes you guys seasoned road dogs.
Absolutely.
Speaking of seasoned road dogs, you guys have performed with some notable acts on stage. When I start looking at the list, everybody from Poison, Styx, Snoop Dogg, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
that you guys have shared some time with. When I look at your bio, and I like this quote, whoever came up with it, it says that Stone Senate has been called a heavier version of Lynyrd Skynyrd, which is a compliment, crossed with the Allman Brothers, which is also a compliment. But at the same time, you guys are definitely not a retro act. You are your own band. You are your own music, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Who does the writing?
A little of everybody.
A little of everybody,
yeah,
okay.
Honestly, I do a lot of demos at home in a studio I have at home, and we'll bring up ideas. But once we get in the room together, it's pretty much a band effort.
Yeah.
Because, everybody in this band plays and does what they do so well that you want them to bring what they have to the table. Nobody needs to be shut out. There's not, I would say, any real focal point writers in the sense that everybody gets to bring something to the table. It's a true band.
Right.
Let's start around. We're going to go around the table here. I want to ask, growing up as kids, this is a question we always ask. Musical influences growing up.
A lot of the old classic country, the Waylon Jennings and Johnny Rodriguez and stuff. And then I really was into the Allman Brothers and the Doors and the Velvet Underground.
Oh, nice.
And then as I got a little bit older, I really got into that Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and that kind of 90s grunge thing I was always a big fan of,
James, what about you?
I'd have to say the biggest musical influence would be my dad, because he loved so many different kinds of music, but he introduced me to bluegrass when I was a little kid, and my father and I played together, and it was Big Jim and Little Jim, the Gallagher Creek Boys, and we used to do the old Mid-South hayride, and then summers when I was out of school go do bluegrass festivals and stuff. But then, I got turned on to Kiss and Van Halen, and that just ruined everything.
Ruined your life.
I went nuts and went into, all the rock and roll that you would expect. But at the same time, I started so young that I grew up around playing with older people, so my taste kind of go further back than they normally would for somebody my age, because I was listening to what they were listening to.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird thing,
Kieran, what about you?
Similar answer to James. My dad showed me a lot of, the music that I started listening to when I was, 15, 16 years old. And he played in bands when I was younger too. He played keyboards and guitar in some bands, so I got to see him do that. But he showed me, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Grateful Dead, the Beatles, of course. So I spent a lot of time listening to that. And then I got into some more like modern alternative stuff, like, Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco for a little bit. And then I studied jazz and blues as I got older. And then moved to Nashville about 5 years and dove into the country stuff too. So a little mix of everything.
A jazz bassist, a man after my own heart. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Teacher's pet.
All right, David, your turn.
I just listened to a lot of Shirley Temple.
Did you? That's nice. Yeah.
I grew up.
We know where this conversation's going.
I grew up on a lot of my dad's old records, which is a lot of the doo-wop stuff, and then discovered the Beach Boys, and that blew my mind. And then any 60s rock and roll, folk music, and then got into the 70s rock era stuff, and then the jam band stuff, any band in that genre, and then just singer-songwriters, and then big fan of jazz music, anything with really good drums.
Yeah.
Is,
nice.
What I like.
Nice.
And bass players.
We're not all bad, okay? When you guys put this band together, you said 2012?
It really started as Stone Senate around 2012,
Yeah. Did you imagine this would still be going 11 years later with what you guys are doing?
I was really hoping it would.
Really? Okay.
Because I know we've all been in, bands, probably several, whether it be a cover band or, or all original stuff, but it just, most of them break up or, they just don't last very long from my personal experience. But I was really hoping that this band would last, man, and we'd be able to really make something happen with it, And so,
when you guys first started, was it the club scene? What were those first gigs like? What did it feel like?
We took every gig that was offered to us, pretty much, no matter where it was in the United States of America, pretty much, and we drove all over the place. Our routing was completely insane. And
kind of what we call dartboard touring.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, throw a dart, see where it sticks. Yeah.
Right.
Been there, done that, guys.
Yeah. So, but luckily it's gotten a lot better, and we did get to do some touring with the Bulletboys early on, and Tantric and Uli John Roth. But here the last few years, we've been hitting up the motorcycle rallies pretty good.
You've been doing Sturgis, I understand.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Sturgis and we just got done with Daytona, 7 shows down there, and we'll be at Myrtle Beach this year. Let's see, Galveston, Texas always has a good one down there at the end of the year, and then actually going to do our first European tour at the end of this year, which will be great. I think it's 32 shows in about 35 or 36 days,
What type venues are going to be playing in Europe? Do you know?
You know what? They're still building the schedule.
Right.
We're hoping to be able to announce all the dates here in the next week or two. But
because that's such a different audience when you go to Europe. They seem to appreciate music much differently than we do here in the States. And I think that in a better way, too.
It seems like the European crowds are like how it used to be in the 80s here. Everybody wanted to go see a show, like, you know, and it's like, it doesn't seem so much like that here as much as it used to be. But we have a lot of friends and other bands that have been over there, and they're like, I mean, hell, they go over there and sell places out, like, you know, so it's like, so we're looking forward to it. Like, you know, it seems we haven't been yet, so we can't really say, but like, you know, I think it's going to be really good.
I know that the couple of times I've been to Europe on tours with bands, the audience is receptive, especially to music that they haven't heard before. So that leads into this question. You guys go over to Europe. Are you following any other acts? I mean, let's face it, Allman Brothers, maybe at some point we're over there, Lynyrd Skynyrd. But there really hasn't been a band that I know of like you guys. You're kind of chartering new territory in Europe, maybe?
That would be interesting if it is the case. I hope. Yeah, and if it is, I think that would be cool. If they're as receptive as people say to music they haven't heard. But like Dave was saying, we have a lot of friends who've been over, and they're like, "Dude, you're gonna love it. They're gonna love what you do."
Yeah.
And all I can go is, like Dave said, on their word, because until you get there, you just don't know. You know?
When I first joined the band, the first 2 gigs we played, we were playing for a pretty well-known act, at least in my opinion. And I was talking to those guys, and, you know, I was like, man, they had a bus and all this, and I was like, man, this is great. You know, there's like, the only way we have this bus over here is that we go play in Europe for 8 months out of the year and come back here and play for 4 months.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but that's where you make your money. Like, you know, I mean, because like I said earlier, it's like it was in the 80s, it seems like, over there. Like, you know, everybody wanted to go to a show. Like, you know, that's what you did. Like, you know, but now, I don't know if it's technology or laziness. I don't know people, but, like, you know, it's over there, they're dying for it. Like, you know, it's like they really love it.
It harkens back to, like, Hendrix. You know, he went over there and then was reintroduced to the States after Europe, you know, after England, basically, where he was. It's an interesting dynamic. I'm looking forward to every bit of it. I'm a history buff, so I'm just looking forward to going, period. Yeah. Of course, we're going to be there in a pretty cold time of the year, so it might not be the greatest time to get out and see things, but...
I will tell you from personal experience, make notes of every city and every country you go in, because when I came back from Europe, I was like, crap. That was there. I could have gone to see that, you know, and you kind of miss. I mean,
I've been YouTubing the cities and doing like virtual tours and finding out, you know, a little history and everything of different places, and that aspect of it is just really appealing to me. But of course, like he's saying, like 33 shows in 36 days.
Yeah.
We're going over there to rock and roll, and there's not going to be a whole lot of time for anything but rocking and rolling, but that's all right with us. That's what we do.
At least get our foot in the door over there for the first time.
Yeah, break it in.
And be ready to go back over and try and get over as much as we can, you know, and really build that following up over there.
We're going to take a break, get a word in for one of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Clint, James, David, and Kieran, also known as Stone Senate.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Branding. What is it really? It goes by many names. Marketing, licensing, and image. When in reality, it's 7 key branding formulas that all need to harmonize perfectly. Mess up just one formula and you have compromised the whole brand build. Dead Horse Branding facilitates all 7 formulas under one roof, building, promoting, and marketing all brands at all different stages of their level. We are a marketing team's dream, and we were built to service talent, artist managers, record labels, independent artists, iconic brands, legacy estates, and startups. Rooted in music and seated across other industries like fashion, various talent, hospitality, authors, interior designers, lifestyle brands, and corporate entities. The 7 branding formulas do not discriminate. 7 branding formulas, all in one swift movement. Sick of beating that dead horse? come to Dead Horse. Please visit us at deadhorsebranding.com or send us an email to info@deadhorsebranding.com.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio here, the gentleman from Stone Senate, Clint, James, David, Kieran, and poor Ted Hennington is not joining us today.
I know. We're missing you, brother Ted.
Yeah.
We're missing
Ted
you.
Hennington, heard of you.
And it's not unusual you're asking about our influences. Ted comes from a super musical family. His father and his mother both play. His sisters, his brothers, everybody. So, he comes from a range of influences, not unlike the rest of us. It's like music's been part of all of our families, it seems like.
Family affair, man.
Yeah. So it's really neat. It's a generational thing, and I know it's true for Ted, too.
Could you guys imagine doing anything else than this?
Nope.
It's usually a question I would ask towards the end, but since you brought it up.
Nope.
No, I definitely couldn't.
Yeah.
We've been working at it for so long, and really all my life, and I know these guys pretty much the same way.
I've been fired from every job I had. I even started my own company, and I got fired from it.
Yeah, I've tried to imagine something else, but it always, it just seems like a dark hallway to go down to me because this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
You recently signed to MRL Agency, which has got to be kind of good news. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And how did that come about? Because, that's one thing I always hear from independent artists who may have a record deal with an independent agent, and they'll go, man, I'm just looking for somebody to represent me. How did that come about?
This is mainly for booking with MRL. The owner, Mike Allen, had brought us out. He's originally from Omaha, Nebraska, so he had brought us out to do a couple of shows, and we just kind of built on that relationship. And then once he started MRL and really started booking bands and doing a lot of promotion and all that, it just felt like the right fit, We've been through a few different booking agencies, and it's just always hard to find the right agency where you're really going to get enough attention, because we all want to work, as much as we can, obviously, and so it's always just been tough, but MRL is starting to give us some good attention and stuff, and get things rolling for 2023. Like I said, we've been through 4 or 5 different agencies, and they were all great, but it was mostly. We were pretty much booking ourselves, I
think we shock them with how much we want to work.
Yeah. I think that is kind of a...
That's good to hear, though, because a lot of artists out there are like, well, I'm just let the agent do all the work and I'm going to sit back. And it's really a team effort. You guys have to, you have to show them how much you're willing to get out there.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about your first EP was 2021. I think.
Actually,
was that Dusk?
Oh, yes, Dusk. Yes, sir. Yep. That, and then we just released one called Dawn, and then we've got a full 13-song album coming out this spring, which we're going to do vinyl and all that stuff for, which will be really cool. Our first time doing vinyl, so we're pretty excited about that.
Your recent single, which was called Whiskey Helps. When you talk about getting noticed, you've already had over 100,000 streams on Spotify, which is quite noticeable. What project is that off of?
That was off of Dusk.
Yeah.
That was actually when we went in to do this new album. That was one of the first songs that James brought to the table, and I think that was the first one that we really started working up.
Yeah, memory serves. That was one that was born out of the old home studio down in Mississippi. My Rolodex of ideas, as I call it. I go in there every day and just hope something happens.
Right.
And I just pile up the ideas to bring to the guys.
So when you bring up something, you go into the studio every day hoping something's going to happen. Do you have a book, like a notebook, where you write down ideas or storylines or lyrics, or how's that memory retention work when you're coming up with something?
Honestly, that's a great question. But I guess everybody's method is different. For me, I go. A lot of times I've learned to just show up show up, go in there, get the guitar, get everything fired up, be ready for whatever comes. And then when it does, I usually strike while the iron is hot and get as much of it done as I can, and flesh it out as much as I can. Of course, knowing that my drum programming is never going to equal what this guy's going to bring to it. My bass playing is never going to be what his is. And I'm certainly not going to sing it like Clint does. You know, I'll write things that I know are not even my range, so I don't bother trying to put a vocal on them, you know. It's like, here's the idea. And then I come to Clint, and we'll work out, you know, lyrics and things. But it's a different process with me every time. And my little Rolodex of ideas is like a hard drive with about 500 sketches, basically.
Yeah.
Some things will get finished all the way out, and others are just almost purposely left, you know, with knowing that there's going to be ingredients that I'm not really going to be able to add as well as the guys, so I'll leave that open, you know.
We talk a lot about you, James, and your writing process, but is there something that each of you or collectively you like to write about, like to perform? I mean, the stories of songs, you know, what is that basic drive every time you put something to music from a story concept?
Well, for me personally, it's really about all kinds of stuff, you know, either bad relationships from the past or really
your life story.
Yeah, right. Really anything like that, you know, not necessarily bad relationships, I guess, just relationships in general from the past, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much. I will write some poetry and stuff, you know, but I do love writing out lyrics and stuff, you know, and coming up with some guitar riffs and all that, you know. That's I do that a lot on my own, you know, and then bring what I have to these guys and see if we can get something out of it. And if not, like James said, we kind of leave it for maybe the next album, you know, and maybe work it out then, you know.
You're talking about the next album, and of course you've mentioned to me you've got this 13-song album coming out, Between the Dark and the Light, that's going to be released this year.
Yeah, this spring, yes, sir.
Spring. How long did that take for you guys from conception to mastering? How long did that process take?
Not long. I guess we went in the studio 2 different times and each booked for a week. And so we did, I guess, like 6 songs the first time. And then we did 7 songs the second time. That was like May and September. Yeah. And then with the mastering and all that kind of stuff, I think Toby did most of that, didn't he? Like, and so
yeah, Toby, right.
Collectively all together, we had pre-production a week before each time we went to the studio. So maybe the whole thing, getting it all together, a little over a month. I mean, collectively all together, probably.
Yeah. This was also the first time we recorded songs that had not been played live.
Right.
Yeah, these weren't road-tested
these
songs. This one came from
born
the
and
basement
bred.
You know.
How risky was that for you to? Because obviously, what you're saying is you go out on stage and you perform in front of the crowds and you get the reaction, and then you go into the studio and record. You're doing just the opposite this time.
Yeah.
Well, some of these tunes, is funny, some of them have changed a little bit, like, you know, because we've worked them more, like, you know, still the same bone structure and everything, but like playing some of them live, they're a little bit different than what you would hear on the record, you know. So we did, I guess, maybe do it a little bit backwards, but it worked out great, you know.
I had never done an album like that. So that was a first for me, I guess, for everybody.
But it's I kind of dug it in the sense that it made us raise the bar on ourselves. You know? We knew that, you know, you don't get to road test this stuff. You got to do it. It's got to kick butt just because it just kicks butt. Yeah. You know? And Toby was great. Toby Wright, our producer, hats off to Toby. He was super in the pre-production process and everything, helping us hone this stuff, you know, kind of get it down to its essence. Just invaluable.
Lyrics, we were rewriting lyrics
over and over. We were rewriting lyrics
the night before we cut them.
Yeah,
right.
It was funny because one time it's like, look, his chorus is great. He's like, that's not the chorus, that's the verse. I was like, okay, whatever you say, brother.
Have you had opportunity to test these songs on the audience since then? And if so, what's that reaction been like?
They go over well. I mean, a lot of these.
Not that you would say no, they all suck. Everybody hates them.
Terrible. Nobody likes them.
Bob, we're bombing everywhere we go. Nobody comes in and says that, dude.
A lot of them, we've got some heavy rockers on there, and they go over real well. Like, it's like on this one album in particular, we probably have 5 or 6 either openers or closers, like at a gig, like, because they're all just,
like set opener or set closer.
Yeah, just heavy, in your face kind of stuff,
right?
And those go over great. And then we got, some slow stuff. It's like, if you want to mellow people out, it's like, it's good to mellow them out, and they dig that too. So everything that we've done off of this record live has gone over real well.
One of the things I'm going to interject here as I talk with you gentlemen is, I know we had the correlation with the Allman Brothers and Lynyrd Skynyrd, but I'm hearing a little bit of early 70s Doobie Brothers in here too.
Hey, nice.
I'll take that all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Thank you
just
very
kind of
much.
that vibe that I'm getting from you
Hell
guys.
Doobies. I'm totally down with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. When you get out and perform at these different venues, whether it's a bike rally or other events, do you see yourself building a new audience? I mean, do you have people coming up going, never heard of you, didn't know who you guys were, love your music?
That happens, definitely. And you're so happy when it does, That's, I guess, is a major part of getting out on the road and working it like you do, is to try to expand your audience and play for people who walk in there for the first time, or especially like a rally where they might not know who's playing on that show that night. They just did the rally.
That's true, right?
And then they just wander over, and the next thing next time you see them, they got on the Stone Senate T-shirt, and you're like, "We're so glad you're back." And like, that's a great feeling.
I think, and we have a fairly big listening audience over in Europe, so this is going to be kind of a treat for them to
can't wait to see you.
Reading that,
listen to this podcast and you guys going over there and tour. What can that audience, and I'm not trying to diss the American audience, but it's so easy for anybody to go see a show here. And we said this in the beginning of this conversation. Europeans treat the shows a lot differently than we do here in the States. It's more an event for them. They really take the time to put their life on pause to go see a show, I guess is a way to say it. What can that audience expect with these shows and these new songs?
Well, I think we're going to have some of our older songs in there, and obviously there are definitely a lot of the new stuff off this new album, and it's just going to be a monster show, I think, from beginning to end. It's just going to be pure rock and roll. And
well, everybody in this band are very good players, so if I was to come and see this band, I would take my time looking at everybody individually, so because everybody has something to give, and musically everybody's great in this band, in my opinion. And it's like, so I know as a fan of music,
thank you, Dave.
I go, I'll generally watch the drummer, but then, if something else catches me, aside from being a drummer, like the guitar player, or the bass player, or the guy singing, I think we have that kind of aspect to offer. It's a good thing to pay attention to everybody.
It's an exciting show.
It is.
If I do say so.
From an overall standpoint, I just hope that it'll be as exciting for them as it is going to be for us.
Oh, I bet it will be.
For a bunch of road dogs like ourselves to get to go over there is something we've always wanted to do. So we're just anticipating
we can't wait to
it.
Get over there.
It's something we've always wanted to do. So if somebody's looking for a good time, I promise you we're going to be doing our best to bring it to them.
That's right.
Let's jump back to the United States. You got touring dates coming up in the U.S. before you go to Europe?
Oh yeah, all year long.
Somebody mentioned you're going to Michigan real soon. Is that kind of the start of the tour for you guys?
Oh, we've actually already been rolling.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're actually always on tour.
Right. Quote unquote.
Yeah, the never-ending tour.
That's either good or bad, right?
it's a steady rolling process with us. We're always we really are. We'll go every day, every week we're out.
And we'll also be back in the studio doing a brand new album hopefully with Toby Wright again at some point this year, maybe after the summer. Try and squeeze it in there.
So we can say you're literally one of the hardest working bands in show business.
Feels like it.
We try to, you know what I mean? We really, at first, when we really first started the band, we really didn't have any money to do any kind of promotion or anything, but we had the van, we had the trailer, we had the gear, and so that's why we took pretty much every show that we were offered, whatever it paid, and really just kind of, we always call it the grassroots campaign, getting out there, just trying to meet everybody and have as many people as we could, hear the band, and what we had to say and sing about and stuff.
We're going to take another break, get another word in for another one of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Clint, James, David, Kieran, and we're going to say hello to Ted.
Absolutely.
Even though he's not here.
You're listening to the business side of music.
This is Mark Allen Barnett, singer, songwriter, creative coach, and mentor. Are you an artist or songwriter, or a family member or friend of someone who is? Are you trying to find your way through the often confusing world of today's music business? I'm here to help. Over the past 40 years, I've written and recorded hit songs, have had more than my share of live performances, and have seen the ups and downs of the music industry and what Music City, also known as Nashville, has to offer. I'm here to share that information with you. The Mark Allen Barnett Songwriting Tours of Nashville are a one-day to multi-day private interactive workshops developed to help you discover your best approach to songwriting, performing in front of a live audience, along with the correct way to network within the music industry. Our workshops are based around what you need to know. While in Nashville, you get an insight from behind the scenes, learn about the history of Music City, separate fact from fiction, and give yourself or a loved one the time of your life. This workshop makes the perfect gift for someone you love who wants to get their foot in the door of the music business the right way. For more information, go to www.markallenbarnett.com or www.musicchoosesyou.com. Remember, you don't choose music. Music chooses you.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio here, Nashville, Tennessee, the guys from Stone Senate. We're going to talk about how you can reach them. Follow their touring schedule, get those Stone Senate T-shirts that they have, because I'm sure you have merch, and we'll talk about that. Clint Woolsey, James Edwards, David Zettler, and Kieran Cronley are in the studio. Ted Hennington, who's the guitarist that is not here, is here in spirit.
That's right.
So, we're going to, maybe next time we get you guys in the studio, we'll make sure, maybe we'll do it in a bigger place, and then Ted can come too.
Oh, I know. He would love to.
He would love it. He hated to miss today.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how people can find the band, touring dates, merchandise, all of that really good stuff.
Really, everything's at stonesenate.com. And of course, we're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we have recently started a TikTok. We're getting pulled into the TikToks, so.
Farmersonly.com.
Yeah. We've got an online merchandise store. You can get all of our music, physical CDs and T-shirts, hats, stickers, patches, all that good stuff. And then obviously we're on all the streaming sites and all that stuff, but stonesenate.com would be your go-to, I think.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure. We really appreciate you having us, Bob.
The business side of music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The business side of music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Busan.